Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Our group will present on the topic of Whistleblower Protection Act 2010. In recent years, the issues has been raised in financial reporting that identify the issues related to whistleblowing due to a growing trend of corruption, lack of integrity and transparency. Therefore, the Whistleblower Protection Act 2010 emerged as a law of Malaysia to combat corruption and other wrongdoings by encouraging and facilitating disclosure of improper conduct in the public and the private sector. So first, let's get to know what is whistleblower. A whistleblower is a person who comes forward and shares his or her knowledge on any wrongdoings which he or she thinks is happening in a whole organisation or in specific department. It frequently claims to be acting in the best interest of the public. In the term whistleblower, receiver was originally applied to the government and could be an employee of a company or a government agency, disclosing information to the public or some higher authority about any wrongdoing which could be in the form of fraud, expose risk corruption or any illegal activities. Additionally, this act can be done via internal auditor processes set up by the organisation or to an external body such as regulator in Malaysia. So next, let's proceed on the purpose of the whistleblower. The purpose is to eradicate unethical behaviour in the workplace. But to protect whistleblower from losing their job or getting restricted, there are protection under Whistleblower Protection Act 2010. Most companies have a separate policy which clearly states how to report such incident. A whistleblower also can file a lawsuit and register complaint with higher authority, which will trigger a criminal investigation against the company or any individual department. So next slide, proceed with the characteristic of whistleblower. Whistleblower are average everyday people who are just sick and tired of seeing others hurt in some way. So the key characteristic of a whistleblower has strong sense of confidence. He or she has to be courageous and brave enough to expose misconduct. Second, tenacity and fighting spirit is a requirement because whistleblowing can be long, drawn-out process and a difficult road to bear. Third is high interpersonal communication. He or she are the first to take and try the initiative to question authority and new practice when they don't understand. Fourth is a strong ethic background. Advocate fairness and feel compelled to protect or help others automatically. And lastly, an altruistic and often naive that believe that people will ultimately do good. Next slide, there are two types of whistleblower which are internal and external. Internal whistleblowers are those who report misconduct, fraud or indiscipline to senior officer of the organisation such as head human resource or CEO. Next is external whistleblowing. It's a term used when whistleblowers report the wrongdoings to people outside the organisation such as the media, higher government official or police. That's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Aiyani. Now let's continue with the presentation. So, who were protected under this act? The Whistleblower Protection Act 2010 provides protection to whistleblowers who voluntarily come forward to report or reveal information on corruption activities. This act also encourages the public from all sectors to disclose corruption-related activities. The identity of the whistleblower and the information provided are kept confidential from any party. Whistleblowers are also given immunity from any civil, criminal or disciplinary action due to the revealing of the act of corruption. So, what protection does this act give? Section 7, Subsection 1, Whistleblower Protection Act 2010 stated that a whistleblower shall, upon receipt of the disclosure of improper conduct by any enforcement agency under the Section 6, be conferred with whistleblower protection under this Act as follows. The first one is protection of confidential information. The second one is immunity from civil and criminal action. And the last one is protection against detrimental action. For your information, there are also advantages and disadvantages of whistleblowing. The first advantage of whistleblowing is exposing unethical behavior. Whistleblowers play an important role in government and business. When business and government agencies cross legal and ethical boundaries, whistleblowers can make these activities public, allowing violators to be held accountable. Companies and government offices that engage in similar misconduct may have previously believed that they could get away with their bad behavior, but the ripple effect of the whistleblowers' efforts can bring about reforms. The second advantage of whistleblowing is it gives legal protection to the employees who report violations of the workplace. Whistleblower protection protects employees who report violations of various workplace safety, environmental, financial reform and securities laws. It also protects the workers who blow the whistle on their employees' actions from punishment under the scheme. Now let's look at the disadvantages of whistleblowing. The first one is it will diminish career prospects. Media interviews, legal testimony and government investigation can affect the whistleblower's career prospects. Whistleblowers may be viewed as heroes by the general public for exposing unethical activity, but industry insiders and recruiting managers may regard them as disloyal or indiscreet for failing to keep company secrets and industry practices hidden. The media attention may lead to the whistleblower being blacklisted in his industry. The second disadvantage is whistleblower may recognize that their effort benefit the larger good, but they frequently face personal consequences as a result of their acts. The media groups who are looking for stories will dig deeper into the personal life of whistleblowers. The whistleblowers might also receive threats of retaliation from former supervisors and co-workers. There are 5 criteria when whistleblowing is morally justified. The first one is when whistleblowing is based on an appropriate motive or utmost good faith. Whistleblowing channels should not be used to make false reports. The second one is when the whistleblowers has exhausted all internal channels such as supervisor, senior management, so we should inform the wrongdoing to the internal whistleblowing first before we go straight to the media because it can damage our reputation. The third one is when the whistleblowers believe regarding the inappropriate conduct is based on reasonable evidence. The next one is when the whistleblower's action has some chance of avoiding the moral violation. And the last one is when the whistleblower's action is commensurate with responsibility for avoiding and exposing moral violation. Now let's move to the next part. So there are 4 characteristics that show when whistleblowing is morally unjustified. The first one is when the disclosure amounts of breach of trust on the part of the person making the disclosure. The second one is the internal channels cannot be used when the person making the disclosure has not tried internal channels to prevent or stop the wrongdoing or misconduct. The third one is when there are insufficient evidence, when there is lack of clear evidence that the organisation is doing something wrong which cause serious harm to the other parties. And the last one is little chance of success. Whistleblowing is not justified in case it is uncertain that it will prevent the wrong. So that's all from me. Now I will pass to the next presenter, Nelti.
Now I'm going to share about the real life case of whistleblower. The company that we choose are Top Glove Company. This case is about Malaysia Top Glove fired whistleblower before virus outbreak. Yuvaraj Katkar, a worker in Malaysia for Top Glove Corporation, took 2 photos in May of fellow employees crowding into the factory. The photos show dozens of workers lined up less than a meter apart while to check on their temperature before start working. The photos then sent to the Nepal Workers' Rights campaigner who sent them on the onto the company and the Malaysian government without identifying who took them. He then received termination letter around September after has been identified as the originator of the photos that been captured in CCTV footage. However, this part has been intimated as Yubarat said, I did the right thing. Followed by the 3 months later, top glove factories and dormitories had become the Malaysia's biggest coronavirus cluster that result more than 5,000 infections of workers in clown factories that has been tested positive. Now we go through on the first issue of Top Glove Corporation, whether did Yubarat deserve the title of the whistleblower. Yubarat stated that not only were the worker accommodation area overcrowded and poorly ventilated, but also the physical distancing was not enforced in the factory. He was concerned about the health of his fellow employees and himself. Therefore, Yubarat deserved the title whistleblower because he exposed the wrongdoing of Top Glove Corporation as they failed to follow the SOP despite it being a requirement during the COVID-19 pandemic. What he did may be wrong for sharing the photos of the company. However, if we look from the Yubarat side, in order for his fellow employees and himself to avoid from being infected by coronavirus, it is the right thing to do. Thus, he was left with no choice but to tell the truth that the company has violated the 1 meter social distancing in SOP. Top Glove factory and dormitories become the biggest cluster that contribute to the spread of the virus. Top Glove claimed that the latter Yubarat was fired due to him sharing the photograph without getting any prior approval from the management as any act of misconduct. Later, Yubarat was told that Top Glove employees not allowed to take or share any photograph of their workplace. Yubarat could object to his dismissal or have a discussion with the company when they terminated him as it was not fair to be dismissed from his work when all he did was tell the truth about the company not following the SOP properly even though they were required by the company to wear masks and gloves. However, Yubarat can get protection for the Whistleblower Protection Act 2010 under the Protection Against Detrimental Action. The Act provides that no person shall take detrimental action against a whistleblower or any person related to or associated with the whistleblower. The protection against detrimental action include discrimination, discharge, demotion, suspension, disadvantage, termination or adverse termination in relation to a person, employment, career, profession, trade or business or taking of disciplinary action or even a threat of such action. The second issue arises regarding the action of Top Glove terminating Yubarat Kakar from working. However, it been questioned whether it is an acceptable action by the Top Glove. In my own opinion, even though Yubarat's act might be wrongful act towards the company, however, he is telling the truth and being concerned of himself and his fellow worker health. After his complaint is being fully ignored by the Malaysian organisation, Top Glove action is not really appropriate. And it seems like they are making decision on terminating in rush without any consultation. Top Glove should do a further investigation on the first place and ask him whether any problem is there. Just because he is a foreigner, it doesn't mean his voices are not important to stand what is right. Top Glove need to consult with an expert regarding with this issue before making decision that related to their staff contract. The act of detrimental of employee by employer is unnecessary under the Whistleblower Protection Act. An employee also needs to voice out their concern and Top Glove should accept their voices and focus on doing proper standard operation procedure in the factory by providing masks, 1 meter tape around the factory, provide more hand sanitizer, and prepare schedule for the employee to take turns to work. If Top Glove taken this issue seriously, they might not have to become the biggest cluster in Malaysia, which have more than 5,000 cases of positive COVID-19. Month after this case, there are statements by the Top Glove. If this incident happens today, the termination will not happen because we have engaged consultants and they have guided Top Glove on what right thing to do. It is unfair for Yubarat since he is already being terminated. This shows that Top Glove is making action in rush without further thinking and discussion with an expert. Instead, of terminating him, Top Glove should just suspend him temporarily while solving the matters, especially during the pandemic where people are struggling to earn money. Next, what is the internal auditor role in whistleblower? Internal auditor should play their role by supporting the act of whistleblowing by encourage the organization to maintain a whistleblower mechanism. They also should make sure the mechanism created are regularly and frequently tested for confidentiality and security. Lastly, internal auditor should encourage organizations that the recipient of the disclosure should be knowledgeable in the Protective Disclosure Act. Hence, the act of whistleblowing cannot be blaming by organization to ensure the staff are unable to raise concern of wrongdoing acts. And lastly, in conclusion, an effective whistleblowing policy has become a must-have for every organization as it can aid in the construction of a safe and transparent corporate governance environment for all stakeholders. Other than that, this policy has provided an appropriate and proper reporting channel for employees to act as whistleblower and proper reporting channel for employees to act as whistleblower by discussing any improper conduct happening in the company. That's all from us. Thank you.